Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Achieving Excellence in Operations, how Rackspace and Datadog customers achieve greater than 99.99% availability. Now, today's webinar is sponsored by Rackspace and Datadog and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm so happy that I get to be here as your moderator today because we have some important things to cover and a pretty cool experience planned for all of you. Today, with the help of our expert presenters from Rackspace and Datadog, we are going to explore how this innovative partnership has allowed organizations just like yours to reduce major incidents and hit that unprecedented level of operational stability and client satisfaction. We're going to get some key insights and some real-world applications. We're going to see a demo, and there's even a chance for all of you to direct the flow of the conversation. As we go along through our webinar today, there are going to be some polls from our speakers that they are going to use in real time to adjust the content of the presentation. So be sure you get your coffee break in now. Run, run, run if you don't have it handy with you, because you are not going to want to miss a single second once we kick things off today. Speaking of which, let's get through a few housekeeping points so we can get this show on the road. You guys all know the drill by now. We're going to start with your questions window. So the questions section of your webinar console, this is the best place to get involved, to get interactive, to ask those questions directly of our expert presenters that we have here with us today. They're going to be watching them come in as we go through our presentations and our demos today, and then we're going to take some live Q&A at the end. So make sure you get all those questions in. Now, the other way you're going to get involved, don't forget those polls. Make sure you're responding to the polls as we go through. And we're going to give the things a little bit of a test run right now. We're going to see if you're alive, awake, alert, and enthusiastic out there, as they say. So if you haven't already said hi or hello in the questions window, now's the time. I see Michael, I see Chelsea, I see Morteza, Gilbert, Chris, Rakesh, Greg, Jorge, Jonas. We got a whole crew with us. Keep those coming in. We want to hear from you as we go through our day today. Such a fun thing about being here together all at one time. Hey, Matt, nice to see you. All right, so love this. Hey, Sean, we got coming in from Michigan. Hope the weather's good for you there, Sean. All right, so keep that coming in. Now, don't forget that those questions windows are also a great place to reach out to the Actual Tech Media crew if you are having any technical issues today. Now, I want to remind you all that a browser refresh is probably going to clear out most of the usual tech gremlins, but if they are really clingy today, if somebody definitely fed them after midnight, no problem. If the browser refresh doesn't work, you're going to shoot us a message there in that questions window, and our team will be there to help you out. All right, so we started our little tour in the questions window. Now we're going to jump over to the handouts tab. There are some really cool resources and takeaways that you're going to want to spend some time with. You can start exploring some websites. You can download a great little takeaway that's going to actually outline the services that we're kind of digging into for the next hour, and you can sign up for that free trial. Now, I don't want you to spend too much time doing any of that yet, because you want to stay with us for the webinar. This is the thing. This is the time. Now is the place to be. Here's the place to be. So you're going to stay with us, but you're going to open those tabs and hold on to those handouts because you will want them after we wrap up our session today. So come back to those once we finish. Now, it's not just awesome content that we're giving away. We also have a $250 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. So stay tuned for that. Now, you do need to be here in live attendance during the webinar in order to win, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those are, don't worry. You don't have to have them memorized. We have them all written down for you in that handouts tab. So you can head on over, click into the handouts tab, and you'll find all the T's and C's waiting for you there. Those T's and C's will also help you out with this wonderful prize giveaway, because today we have a $50 Amazon gift card going to the best question asked. Now, here's the fun part. We review all of the questions asked after we wrap up the webinar. So even if there's so many questions and we don't get to your question during our live Q&A today, don't worry, because you're still entered to win that best question gift card. Plus, hey, that just makes everything more fun and extra awesome. So get those questions in, because it's going to bring up the whole flow of the conversation and really supercharge this wonderful day that we're going to have here together. And you are entered to win that additional bonus prize. So you got to love that. That's literally win-win, right? All right, well, speaking of win-win, let's get our awesome speakers on out here and get this presentation rolling today. I am so excited that I get to introduce you all to this dynamic duo here with us today. And that is, of course, our wonderful representatives from Rackspace and Datadog, Josh Garner, Product Architect at Rackspace, and George Morgan, Principal Solutions Architect at Datadog. Now, I'm going to get Josh and George on out here with me. Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Josh, I know you got a lot of stuff in store for us. We got a lot to do today, so I'm going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm actually so excited to talk about this topic today. So, before I made the jump to product, I was actually in our customer success org for many years as an architect for some of our largest customers. So, I would eat, sleep, and breathe availability and keeping customers' applications online. And that's why I'm so excited about our partnership with Datadog, because it gives us tools that we've never had before to make our customers and our own applications better and to keep them online. So, what we are going to be talking about today is we're going to understand APM and its value. We're going to hopefully help you understand how to take the first steps in your journey. We're going to help you see where the pitfalls are and how you can avoid them. I'm going to then kick it over to my friend George, and he's going to do a demo. And that demo is really awesome. I've seen it a few times. I'm excited about it myself. I always am. And then we're going to talk about solutioning and best practices. I'm going to tell you about some of the amazing things that we're doing with Datadog and what some of the products are that we have that utilize it. And then we are going to take question and answer. And hopefully we'll give out some good information along the way. So let's start in. So first of all, what is application performance monitoring and how do you understand it? So I like to think about it in these three groups, right? So it's optimization, monitoring, and then of course, operational support. And they almost build on each other, right? So optimization, things like identifying and resolving performance bottlenecks. What happens at 3 p.m. whenever your application slows down? How do you know what's going on? Is it everybody logging out for the day? What's happening? Where is that bottleneck? APM is a great way to help you find it. Also, it's a good way to help you continuously optimize your code and do it in an efficient manner. Like there's nothing worse than sending developers off on a wild goose chase. APM can actually help them be tactical in those conversations. So next is monitoring. And monitoring is something that I think we should all have in some way, shape, or form. Like it may have been SCOM back in the day, but it's a different level now. So APM can help you get application health in real time. It can help you track performance, your metrics. It can help you track down anomalies and bring those anomalies to your attention. And then what good is having all of that information if you don't have a really nice way to see it all? And that's what I love about Datadog so much compared to some of its competitors in the market. Now, whenever I can put a racker in front of a Datadog dashboard, they can very quickly get to the problem and help get our customers' applications back on and running quickly and efficiently. And you can do the same thing too. So the next thing that ties this thing all together is its operational support. You can be proactive in your issue resolution. Now, here at Rackspace, we have a 24/7, 365, like fully staffed team of support rackers that specialize in different operating systems that are monitoring these. But Datadog gives you the ability to be proactive. And that's what you can get with APM. And that is so important to the future of your application. This is not a small market, and it is, in fact, a hugely growing market. So according to Gartner, it was a $5.7 billion market in 2020, and that's not small. By 2025, they're expecting it to be $11.2 billion. And that's some demand for APM, and I'm hoping you're going to see the benefits and understand why that demand is growing so much by the end of this little talk we have here. So what are some of the benefits of application performance monitoring, or APM? We may want to count how many times I say APM today. It may be a few. But first, it's improved user experience. What does that look like? It's reducing application downtime. It's seeing what's happening. I think for me, one of the most frustrating experiences that I will ever have with a web application is, do you ever have that moment where you click submit and then the application hangs and it runs, and then you click submit again and then it still goes and you just keep hitting submit and you don't know what it is? It's a terrible user experience. And it's also a terrible experience on the back end. These are the types of things that we can monitor and we can help get to the root of using APM. So next, it helps increase our operational efficiency. So it can help streamline your application performance. It can help optimize your resource allocation. I think right now, we all have the ability to spin up VMs very quickly in the cloud, in your data centers, whatever it may be. It's not hard to add more resources to a problem, but it is very expensive to add resources to a problem. And what I think the proper application of APM can do is make sure that you are properly applying your resources. If it's an application issue that your developers can fix, should you really be throwing more hardware at it? Probably not, right? Like, let's get to the real root of the issue so your application can run as efficiently as possible. And then that all leads into enhanced business outcomes. It enables you to innovate faster. It will increase your release times. It will support your business growth and stability. But most important, it helps make data-driven decisions for your business. There is nothing worse than me. I'm in product development now. There are a few things that I hate more than making product decisions in the dark. Whenever you don't have any information at all, you don't understand what a customer's clicking on, you don't understand why it's so slow. APM will help you make those decisions not in the dark, and that is unbelievably valuable. So here's the real problem, at least that, like, from my 1,000-foot view. Applications today, they're not a revenue source, or they're not just a revenue source. They're a public-facing image. Whenever an application goes down, it costs us money, but it also costs us our image with our customers. And sometimes brand image is far more important than even the just set dollar amount that your company may lose from an outage. And here's the crazy number that I didn't know until I started doing research for this. According to a Gartner study in 2014, and that was back in 2014, I feel like only more things have moved into the cloud, moved onto the internet. Only more applications were there. The average cost of downtime was $5,600 a minute. Now, that varies wildly, right? Completely depending. You may be a mom and pop, a mom and pop e-commerce shop, and you may get 5 orders a day or 5 orders a week. In that case, you're probably not going to lose that much revenue, but what about future revenue? Now, we work with some very large healthcare providers, and if they're down, a minute of downtime could be $100,000, depending on different regulatory requirements, reporting requirements, things of that. So the real issue, as far as I see it, that we are looking to solve with APM is, how do you predict the future? And how do you stop damaging outages before they happen? And that's going to lead us to our very first poll of the day. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. So where are you today with your application performance monitoring configuration? Are you using it at all? Is it something that you're super comfortable with? Where are you today? And we're going to hold it here for a little bit. And actually, George, I'm going to ask you, you talk to customers all the time. Where do you think the majority of them are with their APM configurations?
Well, it's the answer to that question is pretty simple, and it varies, mostly because everybody is coming to Datadog under certain requirements or certain needs. Oftentimes we see a lot of organizations and partners looking for better infrastructure monitoring. That's typically what we see right out of the gate. But for those that I've worked with on specifically application performance monitoring, a lot of the use cases or a lot of the issues that we tend to run into is, the basics are there. They've instrumented their applications, but it's just not showing up, within the service map the right way, or there are certain relationships that are not there. So we sort of help them get through that initial hump, and I'll talk through those kind of concepts as well as I'm going through the demo as well. So, but yeah, it definitely varies.
Yeah, that's what I see on my side too. I think a lot of times I'll get a customer and they won't even necessarily know that they're really looking for APM. They know that they have an application problem, but they have no idea how to solve it. And sometimes they even already have the tools. Sometimes they're already a Datadog user. It's just not configured, or it's just not configured in the correct way,
Absolutely.
So let's go on. Let's see what the poll came up
Oh,
with.
we already have five that are well oiled and doing great. So I guess
Oh
our
man,
job is not needed there. Our work is not needed.
I don't even know if I'm well oiled and doing great. Maybe you guys should be giving the webinar. I don't know. Let's see. Looks like we have some that have the basic and are looking for improvement, and then having outages and need help now. I think that you should definitely reach out to us after the fact if you're having outages and failures and need help now. I think we can definitely help with that. But this is really good information, and it's a lot of what we see. Like, as you all can see, it's a very spread out um, like number of responses. I think a lot of companies are a little bit of everywhere, and it makes sense. So what happens? Like, how do we achieve the uptime that we're looking for? Um, and this is a great saying, and there's two sayings on this slide that I love, and I'm going to use them both, and I'm sorry if it's cliche. But one, it's you have to be proactive actively. And these are the types of things that I used to preach to customers all the time. First of all, you have to build for failure. If you want the uptime numbers, then you have to make sure that your infrastructure is in the right place and that you're doing the right things. Again, today in a cloud world, we all might not be stuck in a data center, but even Amazon itself or any of the other cloud providers, they're known to have AZ issues from time to time. It happens. So you have to make sure that you're architected using a well-architected framework or in a best practices way. So that way, if you have a failure of one system, it's not going to affect the other. That's just the basics. And then you also have to make sure that you have a failover mechanism that works, meaning you tested it before. You know that if a data center goes down, you have a way to get to another data center and you're okay. And you're not going to get a crazy amount of downtime. Maybe it's a load balancer. Maybe you're in a smaller situation and you just need to make sure that you have redundancy whenever that web server goes down. Maybe it's something as easy as having a load balancer in place. But how are you going to fail over the applications? Could be via DNS, could be many ways. So next it comes to planning. And this is the other cliche that I'm going to use because I love it. What is it? A failure to plan is planning to fail. And this is something else that I see all the time. And I see it one of two ways. One, I see customers that don't have a disaster recovery plan at all. And then see customers that have a disaster recovery plan, and sometimes it'll be pristine. But then you've never tested it, so you don't know if it works. So you have to make sure that you have a plan because disasters happen, tornadoes happen. Sometimes power outages will happen in data centers, and man, someone just forgot to fill up that diesel generator and the power goes out. Sometimes a semi truck hits the data center. You never know. Crazy things happen. So you have to plan for those crazy things if you want those really high uptime numbers. And then testing for failure. One of my favorite semi-recent innovations, right, is chaos engineering and chaos monkey and things that just delete resources randomly. Because whenever your application is architected in such a way that you can remove compute resources, you can remove network resources, storage resources, and it self-heals itself, and you have a very, very redundant application. Now, with all that being said, the applications that I work on aren't quite there yet, and I think a lot of ours aren't, but it's a great place to it's a good stretch goal. So that way, as we're planning our applications, we know what we're working towards. And then the big thing here that I think really gives us a superpower is APM, powered by Datadog. It really helps us see the application. So those other two steps, they're really about infrastructure. They're making sure that you have the basics in line, but they're not really looking at your application. If you have memory overruns, or if you have a hung SQL query, something like that, they're not really going to help with that. But that's where APM powered by Datadog can really, really help, because it can take things like logs and it can take application traces and it can put them all together and give you a holistic view of your application so you can get in front of a problem before it actually happens. And those are the things that get me really, really excited, because if I can get in front of a problem and I can solve it before it causes an outage, then the 2 nines become 3 nines, become 4 nines, become 5 nines. And then guess what? Whenever you do have that DR failover, that DR event happens, that tornado, that whatever it may be, it's not going to affect your SLA because you already have a plan in place. You already know your application works. You fail over, you're up and running with your customers. You've taken a major life event and then made sure that your company is still well taken care of. It's a really cool combination of well-architected infrastructure and amazing application visibility. You can really do incredible things with it. So what are some of the pitfalls of APM that we've seen? And there's a couple that I've seen personally, right? And I think one that I really like to call it is just limited visibility. I think a lot of people will put deployments in place and they're very limited in scope. And what I mean by that is maybe it's a cost issue, maybe it's just a knowledge gap, but they will only apply the monitoring, or let's say Datadog, only configured on a limited amount of application servers. And then they'll wonder why they can't see a network issue. What's still going on? I'm still not seeing the issue. I'm still not seeing the bottleneck. Well, in order to see the entire environment, you have to ingest the entire environment, right? So you want to make sure that you're integrating logs and metrics and you're getting traces so you can see a holistic view of your entire environment. I think that that's extremely important. Like sometimes we really want to focus on the tree, but we really need to see the forest as well. Because sometimes a tree is sick, and it's sick because it's not getting enough sunlight because something's covering it, right? Next is reactive monitoring. And for a lot of us, this is just, it's business as usual. It's keeping above water. I know that that's how I was for a long time, right? I don't have time to address alerts before they happen because I am still trying to dig out. And I think that that's a lot of what we see. And that turns into just delayed detection. Resolutions are a little everywhere. It impacts the user experience. Well, Datadog has an amazing ability to do real-time detection. It can even do proactive detection and provide proactive insights. And if you can start working on those anomalies early, then you can get out of the reactive cycle and get into a more proactive cycle. And I think that that is very important and super powerful. So now I feel like I've talked a lot, and I think that George is really smart. So I think I'm going to let him talk a little bit, and I'm going to let him actually show you Datadog itself. And we're going to talk through the APM module of Datadog, right, George? And you're going to show us exactly how it works, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and Josh, let me know when you can see, just to give me a thumbs up.
Perfect. It looks good, sir.
All right. Well, I definitely share in Josh's enthusiasm talking about APM as well as, all the great stuff that Rackspace is doing. I've been with Datadog for 2.5 years. I've been exposed to quite a few different things, and one thing in particular that I'm really excited to share with you is obviously the APM capability. So we wouldn't be much of a observability monitoring company if we didn't start off with a dashboard. Always like to start off with a pretty picture to just give you, an initial overview of kind of some of the things that we're going to be talking about. And just for the purposes of this demo, what you see in front of you is basically, the Datadog UI. So if you've worked with Datadog in any kind of capacity, you're going to be familiar with the user environment. So basically what you see here in front of you is a dashboard of this is what we call an out-of-the-box dashboard that is available, at no cost once you have your application instrumented with Datadog. So you've gone through, you've configured the agent, and you're collecting traces and metrics. It's automatically going to start populating this overview dashboard. So this particular dashboard is the APM Traces Estimated Usage Dashboard. And basically, it's going to give you a lot of, high-level insights into the overall usage, the the number of APM hosts that are reporting, the number of index spans. I'll talk about spans when I talk about traces here in a little bit more detail. But basically, also just giving you, an overview of the infrastructure, how you have your different APM hosts when it comes to which environments they're reporting on. We use the concept of tagging quite a bit within the platform to add that additional level of cataloging and being able to drill down and get those details. So that's kind of what we're pulling in here. Indexing, if you're using any kind of APM index spans and volumes of those spans, as well as, if you're using, say, for instance, Lambda invocations, we are also tracking that information. But for the purposes of this demo, I know I've already said that, but we are actually monitoring what we call a shopist e-commerce website. So it's basically a fake web e-commerce website that is mimicking furniture sales. So this is a platform that we use within Datadog all over the world, and this is our demo platform. So now that we've seen kind of like the dashboard, and you also obviously have the ability to clone the dashboard. You can create additional widgets, and basically, each one of these is fully configurable. But let's go ahead and start like diving into the APM environment proper. So you typically would go here on the left-hand side of the screen, and within the APM platform, you have multiple different categories. You have services. This is where I'm going to be spending kind of like the bulk of this demo. But we also talk about traces. We also have our continuous profiler, which is going to give you the ability to identify bottlenecks within your services and your underlying infrastructure to see where you can be improving, or where you can be potentially right-sizing some of your resources so that your services are, more easily responding to requests. But why don't we go ahead and just continue on kind of the theme, and let's go to another picture. So right now, what I'm loading up here is what's called the service catalog. So the service catalog is going to be a dynamically generated graph or service map of all of the different services that are currently running within your environment. So once you have your application instrumented with Datadog, Datadog is dynamically going to generate this map. And as you can see, you've got multiple different circles. These represent individual services. They're color coded, red meaning that the monitor, there are some monitors that are reporting alerts. Green means that everything is in the clear. But as you can see, as I'm highlighting each one of these, it's identifying and graying out everything else that is not a service that is either an upstream or downstream dependency of that service. So say, for instance, we wanted to isolate just the traffic of the web store. So if I click on the web store and click on inspect, it's going to remove all that other information from that service map and just going to hone in on that particular web store. And the web store is going to show me all of the different upstream upstream services, as well as the downstream services. And then it's going to give you information on any active incidents associated with the web store. So now what we can do is we can go back to the overview map, and you also have the ability of using what's called the faceted search. So this is kind of a common theme that we use across all of the products, is being able to isolate or query based on any one of these specific categories. So if I only wanted to see database services, I could just click on it and it will remove everything else and only isolate and only give me information on the actual database services. So now I'm going to go back. And like I mentioned before, because we use the concept of tagging quite a bit, you can basically also assign tags to your different services. Now, right now, we're seeing all of the different services associated with the prod environment. But if you wanted to see, services associated with the dev environment, you have that option as well. And then that will automatically load up all those different services from the dev environment. So you have a lot of different options and how you can instrument your applications with Datadog to be able to provide that information. Now, a good use case for this is if you have new developers joining the team and they need to get spun up really quickly on all of the different services in the applications and any of the dependencies, being able to just look at this dynamically generated picture to get that information is going to be very powerful. It's going to remove the need to have a separate document or diagram that needs to be constantly updated. So as you can see, a lot of value can be realized just from this particular function. Now, if we wanted to just sort of start peeling back the layers a little bit, say, for instance, we wanted to look at the service information of the web store. So this is going to give me kind of the high level metrics of the web store. It's going to give me information on the different monitors that are running in the environment. If deployments, I'll talk about deployments here in a little bit as we go in further into the web store service, but it's going to also provide additional information around metrics, latency, errors. And say, for instance, I wanted to even go even further, and I wanted to just get really down to the nitty gritty of all the different aspects of the web store. And at this point, it's going to take me to the detailed service page. And in the detailed service page, it's going to give me information on the different insights that are being bubbled up. So we have an AI/ML platform called Watchdog within Datadog, which is going to bubble up basically any particular insights that it's capturing regarding any errors that it's identifying, as well as provide details on sort of the service summary. So deployments, it's going to give me the ability to see, okay, if there are particular versions of the software that the web store is using that is creating additional requests, additional errors. You can basically see all of the different information associated with latency, the resources, any P95 or P90 latencies, P99, and then all the different resources, so all the different units of work that are associated with the actual web store. Now, if I wanted to see specifically within the different deployments of the software, you can see each one of these represents a different version of the software for web store. And as you can see, as I'm highlighting it, it's showing me, if there have been any additional hits over time with regards to a particular deployment version, if there are an increase in errors being witnessed due to a particular deployment version, I can see that as well. I can see sort of like a summary of those different deployments and basically get an idea of, what is the error rate and how often that's happening. And then, dependencies, this is kind of a little bit more detailed in terms of the upstream, downstream dependency with the web store, but more along the lines of different throughput characteristics. And then underlying infrastructure. This is kind of, when Josh mentioned being able to tie in all of these different aspects within the same platform, we're starting to see that here, but we're going to see it even more as we look at the traces. So if we go into the traces, this is going to show me all of the different traces that are associated with the application. So as you can see, it already knows that I'm looking at the web store, so it's already pre-populated the query here. So as you can see, the traces, if you're not familiar with the trace, it's basically all of the different requests that in this case, the web store is receiving over time. So if we wanted to hone in on any errors that the web store has been seeing as part of the trace, so we click on it, and I apologize, my Wi-Fi might be a little bit on the slow side. But now if I click on any one of these traces, it's going to show me a few bits of information. So it's going to show me what's called a flame graph. So it's basically the amount of time that the particular trace took to complete. And it's going to show me all of the spans. So these are all of the individual logical units of work that were executed as part of that trace. And as you can see, as I'm hovering over, it's updating the information at the bottom of the screen. Anything that has a exclamation mark denotes an error that was detected. So why don't we check the span for checkout JSON. And as you can see, it's going to give you information on the actual span. It's going to show you all of the different errors that it detected as part of that particular span. Here's where the power of the correlation works. Now we're going to be able to see for that particular span, this is how the infrastructure was performing during that period of time. It's also going to be showing me the specific logs that were generated during that span's time frame. So, and what's unique here is that it has a unique trace ID that correlates specifically the log with the logs with the actual span. So if you wanted to, you can always click on any one of these entries and it'll pivot over to the logs platform in the Datadog platform. So you can basically, if you want to get additional information, you can do that and then pivot back. You can get information on how the underlying network was performing during that time. So it's going to give you information on the server, the communication pathways between the client and the server. One thing I also want to call out is SQL queries. So this is another correlation, but with our database monitoring platform. So being able to identify, what SQL queries were being performed during that span, and which ones may have taken a little bit longer to execute. Specifically if you have an error that's is reporting some kind of database error. But as you can see, just from within this one particular screen, and sort of tying it all back together, you have the ability to, just within this one screen, be able to see how your trace was performing within the context of your infrastructure, within the context of the logs, your SQL queries, your network. And then at that point, if you are, say, for instance, if you can imagine you're working with somebody like your database person sitting next to you or your network engineer sitting next to you, you can basically use this as a way to address any issues that come up as part of investigating the error. So now that we've talked about APM traces, I just want to pivot over to the monitors capability. So this is kind of going to be, staring at screens all day might be fun, sort of, kind of, if you're really into staring at, metrics and APM all day long. But you're really going to want to, obviously, at some point, develop some monitors that are going to alert your team. And basically, let them know either through email, PagerDuty, Slack, when something starts going sideways. So in the case of APM, you have the ability to create an APM monitor. So in this case, you could select your monitor scope. In this case, let's say we want to look at environment prod, and we want to basically capture information or alert based on the ad server service. So as you can see, within the past 4 hours, Datadog has noticed this is kind of like the overall performance that the service has exhibited. If you wanted to look at over a longer period of time, say, for instance, in the past week, you can get additional information. So say, for instance, at this point, you want to make sure that the team gets notified if the number of hits per second exceeds, say, for instance, 40. So if you set the alert threshold at 40, it's going to automatically create this band, and it's going to show you, okay, within the last week, you're probably going to get alerted quite a bit, because this is kind of like the historical view of that particular service. You can also set a warning threshold to sort of give more informational type data. So, to basically say this is kind of sort of normal behavior, but we're not necessarily going to alert on this. And then at that point, what you can do is, this is where you actually notify your team, right? So you specify the name of the monitor, what you found, who gets notified. In this case, it would be me. And then if you want to assign any tags to, again, when you're looking at all your monitors, if you want to correlate or drill down based on, a service name or environment, you have that ability to do so as well. So as you can see, you can get notified very quickly, depending on what kind of issue you run into. So with that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back from the demo. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Josh, I think we can proceed.
Hey, excellent. Thanks, George. Really interesting stuff. I love the visualization that you get out of Datadog. That's by far my favorite part of the product compared to other competitors on the market. I love the visualization capability. We do have a couple questions that popped in. Does APM provide machine learning based on past performance just automatically?
So what you would need to do is you would need to enable the Watchdog AI/ML capability, and that will start. It will take about an initial 2 to 3 week period to create sort of that initial baseline. But then over time, it's going to be able to notify you based on any outliers, any anomalies. It's going to give you models on forecasting. So if it sees a service or a metric going in this particular direction, it'll extrapolate that over time. So you really want that data Watchdog capability enabled. And then you can also create monitors based on that as well.
I'm actually really excited about the new Watchdog capabilities. And as Watchdog gets more and more powerful, it makes me really excited. Because for me, I look at that as it's almost like a resource expander. I can get less people, but have more information and get the information that they need in front of them. It's really cool, and I'm really excited about it. So I just put up our next poll question. So it's, what areas of your APM are you looking to improve? I think we've talked about a lot of really good things today. I think a lot of people are looking to improve custom dashboards, your tagging strategies, maybe monitoring setup, or maybe you just need 24/7 support. I don't know. But really looking forward to hear what we're going to get from these questions here. So here's another question that I think we can go over just while we're looking here at the poll. Is the AIML capabilities customizable where you can set guardrails? Can you set guardrails for it?
So I believe you do have some capabilities to set some particular, thresholds. I will need to get additional information back from my team on how you can how you can further customize it. But I do believe you do have that option.
Awesome. So where did we come at today? So a lot of people are just looking for monitoring setup and configuration. I don't guess that's surprising. I feel like that's the hardest part, is just getting everything set up and all together, and then you can kind of, like, everything else sort of falls in place. But 91%. I don't know if those numbers are correct. Actually, I'm looking at them. 41% said custom dashboarding, and 41% said advanced tagging, and 91%. That's a very large percentage, everyone. But I appreciate it. We're going to keep all of this in mind, and we're going to go on to the next. So thank you so much for participating in our poll. So now I'm going to talk to you about something that I've been working on for a little bit. So we took all the things that Datadog and George just talked about, and we've really been working on getting people that are familiar with it. And we have a concept at Rackspace called Elastic Engineering. And what it is it's where we help embed engineers with you, right? So you can have an entire pod of engineers that are dedicated to you. You can use them partially based on hours, whatever you'd like. But what we have is we have a group of experts that can help you with things like dashboard configuration. We can help with your tagging strategy, your advanced monitoring configuration, synthetics, and APMs. And we can also help with the left-hand side of that slide that we talked about before, or we can ensure that you have proper, like, run books in place. So that way, if a DR event happens, those are there. We can help you with trend analysis, capacity planning, all of the things like that. And we can do them, like, we can even set in your sprint meetings whatever you would like. We actually offer this across a varied amount of products. Everything from VMware, AWS, you name it. But this is now for application operations specifically, and this is something that we've done for years. So we have pods of .NET and Java experts, but we're really diving into Datadog right now because we are so excited about its capabilities and what it can actually do specifically with APM. So this is what one of our typical pods looks like. And then this is going to be like the last of my little pitch here, but I love it so much. And I think it's really powerful. So you can get cloud engineers and lead architects, and they will be either dedicated or semi-dedicated, depending on what you need. And we have an engagement manager. And the engagement manager is where it really gets important. Because what happens is you can say, hey, I need X amount of dashboards created. I need Datadog configured on this application. And then they can just create a teardown list, and we can run through it and help you achieve your tasks in a very quick way. It can even include training your team. Like, that's definitely not something that's something that we've done all the time. So I'm really excited about our new Elastic Engineering for Application offerings. I think that it's going to be really, really interesting in the market, and I'm really looking forward to working with some of you here, hopefully. So now let's talk about the future. Like, I think we've talked about the past a lot. We've talked about why you need APM. I think everyone on the call agrees that APM is super important. I'm sold. So where are we currently? So for me, and in my experience, where I've seen 99% of our customers, the customers that I've dealt with, is they have logging, they have metrics, they have tracing, and they have some form of dashboarding. Now, some of those may come from different places. Some of them may be using one product for logging. They may be using one product to get metrics. They may be using a different product for tracing. And maybe they're plugging it into Grafana or something like that on the back end. I don't know. But I think most customers are there. And then what we really see is gaining traction in the market is some of the amazing things that you can do with Datadog and what you get by putting them all together. So anomaly detection, proactive alerting, continuous profiling, those are the things that you get whenever you take the commonly deployed items and you put them together. And
Yeah,
then
no,
on the horizon.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump in here, and I totally agree. Basically, when it comes to being able to stay one step ahead of your issues at Datadog, we always talk about reducing that mean time to detection and mean time to resolution or recovery. So a lot of things like proactive alerting, anomaly detection help with that, and then the continuous profiling are going to help you identify those bottlenecks within your infrastructure and your services to make sure that not only you have the ability to proactively get notified, but the continuous profiler is going to give you the ability to get to the point where you're actually learning from those proactive and anomaly alerts, and then applying some of those lessons learned to your infrastructure and your services.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I'm really excited about, George, is automated remediation. That's like things of dreams that I've had in the past, where I would spend hours, if not weeks, just like developing single automated scripts that would trigger based off something that happens. And now that we're getting to the point where we can scale that in a much more granular fashion is really exciting to me.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I've only been at Datadog for 2.5 years, but I've been in quite a few meetings where, our customer would say, "Hey, this is great. You're telling us what's wrong, but we would like some help in how to address those issues." So that's kind of where we've been making a lot of strides into what's called workflow automation, being able to identify those things, and when they come up, being able to proactively and in an automated fashion execute on some of those fixes. So that is just an area that is continuing to see a lot of traction, a lot of interest.
Yeah, and honestly, that goes back to maintaining uptime, right? Like, how are you maintaining uptime? Fixing those issues very quickly, and what's the quickest way to do it in an automated fashion? So as soon as Datadog sees the issue, you can action on it, and action on it in an automated way. It's really, really impressive. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to dive into it more from a product perspective on my side to see how I can use it to make our products better in-house and for our customers. Those really gets me excited. Well, should we take some questions, George? What do you think?
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome.
You guys are rocking this. That was so interesting. I was on the edge of my seat all the way through the end there. You've already gotten to quite a few of the questions, and there was a lot coming in about automation. So I think we've got through a lot of the ones in that kind of sphere. I want to ask this question as well, because I think it's an interesting one. Does Datadog always require the use of an agent in order to capture data?
So that is kind of like the question we get quite often. So basically, the answer to that question, the short answer is yes. Well, not necessarily we don't require it, but while we recommend using the agent for capturing kind of like low-level metrics, especially when it comes to hosts, CPU, memory, I/O, as well as traces, there's certain circumstances when the agent's not going to be necessary. This is sometimes, and we're sort of not talking about APM at this point, but there are certain integrations around, using the API through what are called crawler integrations. However, but for the purposes of, within APM, we definitely recommend leveraging the agent, because it's going to be able to provide kind of that deeper level of introspection and, acquisition of some of those traces. And we've expanded kind of like that agent capability to the point where we're trying to reduce the overall footprint when it comes to, because oftentimes in the past we've had to, inject additional code into a monitored application. But now with, with some of the advancements that we've made, that footprint has decreased quite a bit. So it's not as impactful on, on the underlying code as well.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to sneak in one more question, even though we're getting pretty close to the end of time here. Are you able to correlate data captured from an APM with other data captured by Datadog?
Yeah. So basically kind of like the theme that I've tried to convey, especially when it comes to the demo, being able to, leverage the concept of tags. So in the case of kind of like the 3 specific tags in particular, which consists of our what are called unified service tags, which is environment, service, and version. So being able to have that and be able to have that injected into your infrastructure environment, your databases, your RUM, your synthetic tests. Having that in place is going to give you the ability to create that mesh and be able to see all those different bits of information all within the same screen. So that's kind of, one of our main value propositions is being able to leverage that and, provide that single platform.
Perfect. All right. Well, and I know that there's quite a few questions that we have not gotten to as we approach the end of our time here. I did see that you guys were responding on live chat while presenting. So A+ for multitasking to you guys today. Nice work. And I do, before we kind of take off, I have a final question for you both. And I'm going to sort of make it a 2-parter. One is, I'm curious if you have a final takeaway or thought that you'd like everyone in the audience to kind of, exit the room today thinking about, mulling over, or taking action on, which leads me to my follow-up, which is, what do you think is that best way to get started to jump in and kind of get to know this incredible partnership a little bit more? So maybe George, if we can start with you, and then Josh, you can kind of bring us on home.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to get started is, in many cases, is to play with the platform. Oftentimes it's starting off with, it doesn't even have to start with APM. It can start off with, trying to, monitor your few hosts on your on-prem environment. But once you start building on that, you start understanding the concepts of tagging and how things are all connected together. That sort of gives you maybe a little bit more courage to try other things. And then not only that, but also, Rackspace is a fantastic partner. I can't speak more highly than Rackspace. So getting involved and, just asking questions, and, Rackspace knows how to reach me. And, if we need to have additional conversations on, any kind of use cases that anybody's looking at, we're more than happy to help.
Josh has the bat signal to reach George. Excellent. Josh,
absolutely.
Bring us on home. What's your final thought and your key steps to reach out?
I agree with George so much. We actually have a free trial link as well, that you can have the ability to go in, set up a free trial of Datadog, play with it. I really love it, but it was also just abstract concepts until I got in and actually looked at it. And then the other thing I'll leave you with is plan for the worst, right? Make sure that you're always planning for your application, and that's how you'll achieve that uptime goals that you're looking for.
That is a fantastic takeaway and some great ways to follow up with you both. I want to thank you guys for joining us here today. This has been a lot of fun, and I know we've all learned a lot. So thank you for leading us on such an interesting and interactive conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And to everyone out there who asked some great questions, I know we didn't get to all of them. Keep those coming in, because we are going to make sure that those get sent to Rackspace and Datadog. So you will get some responses back. Keep those questions rolling in. Another great way to make sure that you get some more information right away, we were just talking about this with George and Josh, that if you visit that handouts tab, you can actually see there's a couple of links, a couple of things that are going to help you get a little bit more info. First, you can download that one page that, it's that easy, quick takeaway on Rackspace and Datadog services. So this is basically a summary of everything that we just heard, condensed down into a nice, quick and easy takeaway that'll help jog your memory, but also makes it really easy when you're telling your colleagues and your teammates, and you're like, oh my God, this incredible partnership, this was so cool. And then you can just hand them this little one sheet and they can take a look at it and get an idea for all these incredible services. Another thing that I would recommend is making sure that you schedule that consultation with Rackspace, and you can also sign up for that 15-day trial of Datadog. So there's a couple of links there open those tabs, hold on to those, because as soon as we wrap up, you're going to want to make sure that you're booking those opportunities to chat a little bit further and definitely getting started on that demo. So that's your homework assignment. Final questions in, and click on all those handout tabs and make sure you've got those links open and ready for once we wrap up our day, which is coming very quickly, which means it is time for a prize giveaway. And we have a $250 Amazon gift card going to someone here live, present, and a little bit lucky at the webinar today. And that special someone is Cameron Shelton from Texas. Cameron Shelton from Texas, congratulations. You have won a $250 Amazon gift card. Now we're going to follow up with you after we wrap. We will also be following up with that best question gift card winner. So that $50 best question going to the best question asked today. I can tell you the competition is fierce. Chris, I see you. Thank you to you as well. I saw a couple of shout outs as we were going through today. I love that. I love the positivity coming from all of you. And I have to echo that big thank you on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team. I definitely want to extend that thanks to Rackspace, to Datadog for making this webinar possible, especially to Josh and George for guiding us through that really interesting and interactive conversation, which of course brings me around to all of you, because my biggest high fives, as always, my biggest gold stars go to all of you here with us today for making this discussion possible. I really do love when we get a chance to explore partnerships like this one. You know, it brings a whole new level of innovation, a whole new level of energy, all these incredible new ideas to the table. And that's kind of what we're doing here together when we join in these webinars, right? We're all coming together, we're laying out some of our ideas, some of our experiences, some of those best practices. And then between us, we're able to really power up what we can accomplish, what we can all do. I love that opportunity for collaborative learning. So today we sort of had a collaborative learning experience on a collaborative experience. So this was a partnerships all the way through, and that's a pretty cool way to spend some time together. So thank you very much for joining us. I can't wait to see you all at a webinar again soon. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful end to your day. Thanks, my friends.